Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to our raw reaction review for Dolly. Macy, a young woman, is abducted by a monstrous figure intent on raising her as their own child. Well, the Fantastic Fest events and festivities continue with our next film here, Dolly, having its premiere just a couple nights ago. Really happy and positive to see all the buzz about this one. It was a Shudder IFC property, so it was already on our radar, something we were certainly thinking about picking up, but I had to reach out the moment I saw our friend of the show, Cody Leach, talking about this one. He just made it sound really good, really exciting, and really up our alley. And yeah, Luke, I gotta say, after watching Dolly, it was definitely up our alley. This was definitely a lot of fun.
Lives up to the hype. And this one, honestly, I didn't see any reviews going into it. I was just looking through the list that they give us that we can reach out to. Dolly just seemed like a really intriguing type of film. It could be really off-putting, disturbing in a sense, is what it seemed like. And I gotta say, it does live up to what I was going to hope this would be, especially when we kind of get into, I guess you want to call it maybe a slasher-esque kind of film where you're looking at those iconic figures. Thanksgiving was one of the more recent ones that we've had. So I was putting some eggs in this basket, to be honest. I was like, I'm excited. I like the poster. I like where they're going with this. And I wanted some eeriness. And I can say 100% I got it.
Yes, I will say, without spoiling anything, we want to keep this, I guess, as vague as possible, because there is just a little trailer out there, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's one of those things where this is very much a love letter to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre throughout the performance of our main slasher. Now, we don't know what the internet's going to coin her as. I don't know what the film even has her listed as. Does it say there, Luke? Do you have it on the IMDb? Because I couldn't.
On the IMDb, it just says Dolly right now.
Okay.
Now, just if in case anyone's not aware of this is directed by Rod Blackhurst, who did the short film Night Swim. He also did a short film a couple years ago. I guess you want to call it short film, kind of proof of concept for Dolly, called Baby Girl, and that's what they were calling this figure in that. It was just titled Baby Girl, and we do get some references to that name as well in Dolly. So it's going to be, I don't know, maybe the internet eventually, once this comes out, is going to take on a completely different name, but we have Dolly, Baby Girl, and we'll see what the internet comes up with.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a welcome surprise, because I didn't think we'd get a character that was as fun and interesting as Dolly. And what I was saying, getting back to my point about this being very Texas Chainsaw Massacre coded, the performance from our main, I guess, monstrous antagonists, whatever you want to classify them as, just off the chain, just really brought me back to the original feels of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You feel all of the anger, the frustration, and the killer drive behind them, but you also feel every single second and ounce of psychological torture that this person is under. And it is very, very admirable. I was won over completely with the Dolly mask, with the missing eye, and how they kind of allude to what that thing is and what it's made out of. I mean, I just want to know. I want more time with this slasher, guys. I really feel good about it.
And what an imposing presence. That's what you're looking for in these slashers. And you bring up Texas Chainsaw Massacre, completely has those vibes throughout this entire film. Now, the aesthetic is also right up there. It's filmed, I believe, on 16 millimeter. And I mean, it adds so much to just the aura around this film. It has a certain gravitas, a certain dignity to it that I think you can put up with a lot of those older films like that. It is just shot really well, and it gives us that imposing nature to Dolly, Baby Girl, whatever you want to call the slasher, played by Max the Impaler, who I am a professional wrestling fan. I am aware of their resume in professional wrestling, which is phenomenal. I didn't know they were doing a film like this, but I was so excited. It was a happy surprise when I started looking at the IMDb page for Dolly, and what a great presence Max the Impaler has as Dolly. It just, you feel scared. Sometimes you don't have that presence for these slasher characters. They're just like, oh, it's a cool design, or that's as far as it goes. But there are some really disturbing things in the presence of Dolly and the subject matter that we go through. There's certainly some wild imagery that I was not expecting. I love the where they go with this, what avenue they go down. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that, and it is kind of pretty fresh in terms of when we get into a slasher or whatever the subject matter we're dealing with. It was so off-putting, so weird, but it all works so well.
Yeah, I hate to like bring this part up because I think I know a lot of filmmakers, if the director ends up watching this, might, I hope so, because we liked your movie. But it's one of those things where it's like I paused the movie for a minute on the screener, and I saw I was only 23 minutes in, and I was just like, that was only 23 minutes, and it was not in a bad way at all. Like, I know I've said that in the past with movies where it's like it's so slow, it's not working. This is one of those things where so much had happened in those 23 minutes that like I was just like, God, the ride this movie's going to take you on. And I will admit, it is very simple. It is very straightforward. We're not breaking any molds. Like you said, this is a movie that wears most of its inspirations on its sleeve. It does take elements that we've seen recently in other films. I won't name names. You've probably heard the comparisons. And it kind of uses them in a cheeky, fun kind of way, but it never feels like it's stealing anything or that it's ripping off. They have enough, I guess, intrigue and interest with this kind of Dolly character, who, again, I gotta say, I know this always sparks up the comments, but I'm just gonna say there's this like androgynous like nature to Dolly and their character at first, where I just because of the body type and the build of what is it, Max the Impaler, you said?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Again, all due respect to them, there was moments there towards the beginning where I'm like, is this a dude with a doll mask on, or is this actually like a female? Like, it's that thing where their body language, everything was so mixed at times that it wasn't until a very particular scene that I was able to say, okay, yes, I understand now. And I love that. It adds this, again, this psychological, like, what is happening? And it disturbs you a little bit.
Absolutely. I think, when we talk about disturbing nature of things, everyone wants to go the gore route. And there's absolutely some gore in here, but a lot of the disturbing nature of this is psychological. Like you're talking about this androgynous nature to Dolly. There's absolutely, easily premeditated, where it's like it gets you off kilter in a sense. You don't know how to feel sometimes during this, other than you're just absolutely intrigued and don't know. I think when you don't know how to feel, that ups the ante with the tension of the film. And like you said, we're not breaking any molds. This thing dives right into the situation itself. That's what it hangs its hat on. It just wants to build that tension. It wants to build those scares. It wants to make you feel so off-put throughout the entire film. Something like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we've seen so many inspired by films of Texas Chainsaw Massacre that just come out and manufactured. We covered one, maybe a month and a half ago, that just did not hit or did not work for us. Dolly, you can see the inspiration there, and they're not trying to dive too deep into any sort of extra narrative or anything like that. So they're just able to kind of soak in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes and then bring out what they want to in this story and where they go with the Dolly character. There are some big surprises in here in terms of what happens to certain characters and things, because I was excited to see some familiar faces in here. Quite a cast in a smaller film like this, and I was all on board the horror elements to this. I think this one works on a lot of different levels. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this one because that psychological aspect, you get a lot of great disturbing things, but then when you amp up the gore that they do in this and they deliver in that fashion as well, I think a lot of horror fans are going to be pleased by this one.
I think this is going to definitely catch the eye of a lot of people. This would be another one that I see this film doing really well with the horror community, and then hopefully we continue this, because like, guys, I'm serious when I say, like, we were having a conversation, I think maybe a review or so ago, or maybe it was on Sunday Scaries, I don't know. There's like a feel to movies like Funhouse and Madman, and movies that are just these kind of one and done. They were just random ideas thrown out there for not much money in the woods. They shot it, they did it, and like there's an intentional aesthetic towards that, but it's so subtle and well done with the shooting on 16 millimeter, doing all this. It's like, it feels like one of those movies. It feels like something that my dad would be like, hey, I rented this from Netflix when I was like, 11 or 12. And he's just like, you got to check this one out. This is like Friday the 13th, Halloween-esque kind of stuff. And it's like, that's what this movie felt like. And it hit such a big spot with me. I was so pleased with this one.
Absolutely. I think this one, when you look at some films that want to get into this genre and be put on a pedestal with some of those films like we're kind of referencing and being shot on digital, sometimes it just doesn't have that feel. It just kind of loses something in translation, where not just because it's filmed in 16 millimeter does this film feel like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or a great slasher film. There is a lot behind this in terms of building those scenes, building that tension, a lot of great shots throughout the woods in this as well, and that off-putting nature throughout, and just that great presence by Dolly, Max the Impaler's presence there. It's just fantastic. The only thing, like, the minor critique that I had of the film was it is kind of split up into chapters. I don't know necessarily if we needed something like that. It doesn't really take anything away from the narrative necessarily, but I didn't really see it as a useful device because there's not really a passage of time for anything. It almost picks up right where the chapter leaves off. So it's like, okay, we're not really getting into anything other than we're just taking a brief pause for 3 seconds. It's not really a big critique or anything. It's just kind of something I noticed where it's like, okay, I thought maybe we were going to get something different from the narrative as we got into different chapters, but it was just a continuation of the story, and it really just picks up where it left off. So there really isn't anything aesthetically to that other than, hey, we're just kind of putting in these chapters. I don't know if maybe the intention was to make it feel like a little bit of a storybook. I'm not sure.
I think there might be a little bit of that, but yeah, I would definitely say, I guess if I am going to lay any real true criticism, that's definitely something I don't think is necessary for the film, but it's just another kind of aesthetic piece. I think the only thing going against that is I usually like, if you're going to do that the film is a bit longer. This is only an hour and like 20 minutes. So it's one of those things where it's like, we're kind of gunning through everything, and that's fine. It's fast paced. It's supposed to feel that way. It works. You don't overstay anything. But it is one of those things where, yeah, especially like it didn't bother me the first couple, but I feel like the last few chapters come in such quick succession that it does feel a little like, I think this was added in post everything else. It doesn't feel like this was necessarily a plan from the start, but I could be wrong. It didn't necessarily bother me. So
yeah, it was just when we're so focused on the instance of what is going down, and then to kind of take another break, even though they're only about 3 seconds, I was just like, oh, well, let's just get into it. I'm really, it's a critique, but it's also a gold star in a sense in terms of the narrative, because I was so engulfed into what was happening in the situation that we were going to see. I was like, I don't want to take this brief break. I really want to see what's going on. But they have a lot of great scares in here there's one in particular I don't want to spoil for anyone, but I think our weapon of choice is a shovel, tends to be, and I love that aspect of it just because we don't see something like that often. When we talk about uniqueness to a slasher and things like that, I think Dolly is a really great slasher in a sense, I guess, if that's what we're going to deem this. I'm excited for a lot of people to see this. I did check out that Baby Girl short as well, which kind of gives you an overview of what Dolly's going to be, just very minimal stuff, but you kind of really expand on that concept. And I think Rod Blackhurst certainly did that in terms of giving us something that's going to be a lot of fun. I hope this film turns out to be bigger than, just being a smaller film that a lot of people are going to recommend, but it's also going to be a fun film that would be like, well, have you seen Dolly? Because I certainly am going to be recommending this to a lot of people once this is out.
Oh yeah, this is going to be one that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. Like, again, I think this is one of those characters that, like, we need stuff like this. It's like, we can not saying Dolly's taken over Leatherface's spot or anything, but it's like the performance, all of it, it still feels fresh enough. It's a new avenue to explore. It's like, I just hope that we have another Damien Leone here with Rod Blackhurst, in the sense that he's got ideas for this character and where to take it, and we could get ourselves maybe another icon here down the road. We throw that around a lot nowadays, but I just see the potential here. It's another one that, we have a seed here. Let's hope they can grow it. A couple others, like, again, I think that she fits that same mold of like a Leatherface, and even giving us some nods to stuff like Victor Crowley and stuff like that. You know, it's like one of those hulking silent characters, and I love it. I think that the performance works well, and again, it's just something that I was smiling ear to ear the entire time I was watching. So for me, I'm going. Dolly's going to be a very strong recommend. I got to go with very strong recommend. It could go into must see territory. I just want to see how I feel in the second watch.
I'm going to go recommend it as well. This was just such a happy surprise. You know, when you look at the posters, the movie posters, and they're so well done, very rarely do they live up to the hype the expectation that you set in your head. And I got to say, Dolly really did in terms of the eeriness, even the gore that they deliver in here. I was hoping for it, and then it was such a welcomed kind of check that box in terms of what we do get. I think they knocked that one out of the park as well. A lot of great performances, a lot of just eeriness to this character. It's really nice to see, as you said, you know, no one's in danger of taking Leatherface's spot in terms of iconic slashers, but it's really nice to see someone take the DNA of that and switch things up to make something that feels just different enough that it's their own thing, but also see the inspiration behind it. It really does warm your heart. And, you know, a lot of familiar faces in this as well. This is a breeze to get through. It doesn't linger at all. You're always engaged in the situation. So this one, really thorough outing for Rod Blackhurst. You know, I'm a fan of Night Swim, the short film, not so much the the feature. I'm excited to see this one go from proof of concept to an actual feature as well. Maybe we'll get something more down the line, but I'm excited to see what he's going to do next.
Agreed. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on. So there you have it, guys. Definitely let us know if you're excited for Dolly. Share this one around. You know, hit up Rod Blackhurst on any social media they're on. Some of the people involved. You know, our voices matter a lot when it comes to these film fests. So hopefully, if we can get some love and some support around this one, then yeah, I think we could see this get a theatrical release. Like, there's a lot of power in our hands through this stuff, guys. So do what you do best, look into it, support it, and I really believe in this one. I think this one's going to be very fun for all of you. So there you have it, guys. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live.